This is one of the many live technical sessions we are organizing to inform and train you on getting the best out of data miner as a DevOps professional. I am Jarno, and I'll be hosting today's session about how to get started with regression testing and how we can use it when deploying solutions. I'm lucky to have two experts here with me. We have Tom, who is together with his team providing the necessary framework and tooling to get us going on the platform. And of course, we want to make an efficient and tailored environment for you and your users. And there we have Flavio, who is really working with the platform and providing the best environment possible for you. All right. Before we getting started, let me just remind you on our great Dojo platform, where we have many courses and also training sessions and all of that. So in case you're not registered yet, feel free to go to the Dojo platform. All right. Have you actually heard about regression testing? What is it? What is the goal of it? And what can we do with it? Tom, can you help us explain this?
Yes. So with regression testing, we want to validate if after a data miner upgrade or a package upgrade, the data miner still behave the same way. So if you do action A, it's still going to be action B that's being executed.
Okay, so it's testing the interactions in between components, right?
Yes, indeed. We also have UI testing that we do internally, and that's actually opening Cube, pressing the button, and see if that specific action is being taken as well.
Okay. Okay. And today we are going to really focus on the functionality part and testing all the components together. Flavio, can you help us explain how we can test a full solution, and when can it be useful to do regression testing?
Yeah, it will be really useful when we want to test an end-to-end solution, end-to-end integration, where usually we have multi-vendor devices across the network, and we need to test all the actions that we do. For instance, instantiating a service from end to end. Let's say that today everything is working, a new release for a firmware is available for one of the device types. The device is upgraded to the latest firmware, but in that latest firmware, a small change in the API changed, was enhanced or something. That could lead to different type of responses that or to the questions that data miner will do when requesting for data, and that can result in unexpected behaviors when we are orchestrating things. So
okay, that's
end-to-end testing,
So that means that if a certain external factor happens, for example, at the device level, that we can keep on testing and see if something is failing. So that means also whenever we do an upgrade with the protocol or with the data miner software, that's also possible, right?
Exactly. It's any type of change in our environment. We can always validate after the change if everything is still running as expected.
Okay, great. So yeah, why not automating tests and all of that if it is possible? Huh? So nowadays, I heard that designing regression tests is a lot easier now with data miner. So Tom, can you help me explaining what tools we have and how we can do regression testing on data miner?
Yes. So we have the QA Portal API that's available on NuGet.org. Via this NuGet package, you can easily push test results to our internal portal system. On this portal system, we keep track of all our test systems and the test results. And now as a customer, you can also push your results to that system. So we can internally in Skyline track your problems. That's important if you have like an active deployment. Some developer has installed a new package and your tests are running, and then some things are failing, and then we see that immediately internally. And then we can also react on that and have a new version ready. So how do we do that? First, in your automation script, we create a test report. In this test report, there is all the information about your test, which domain in Skyline that's responsible for it, also which project it is linked to, and also a small description of what it's actually validating.
All right, the Skyline domain, just to be sure, that is your contact, huh?
Yes, that's your
the team
Skyline
that is
contact.
working actively on your project implementation,
Yes,
right?
indeed. Yeah.
Okay.
Indeed.
And the project IDs, that comes along with the collaboration platform that we have, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's the same ID as in your collaboration project.
All right, good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. So once you have your test report, then you are building up your test. And for each test case you have, so for each part that you want to validate, you can add a result for it, so a success or a failure. Also the name of that test case. If you have a failure, it's important to describe as good as possible what the problem actually is, not just having an entire stack trace in there. Like if you expect the value 4 to be there on a certain parameter, it's better to list this is the actual value I've read out, and then also give the expected value that you want. That makes it easier for an external person or yourself within 6 months to see what the problem actually is. So to investigate.
Of course, clear failure messages are key to investigate if something went wrong. Now, I see on your screen a test report, and I see also test case reports. What is the difference? How can I distinguish them?
So a test report corresponds to an entire script. So, and a test case is a subpart of a validation. Something like your
Is it
satellite.
like a test that I have about whether an offload file is being created, and the test case report is then the different kind of offload files. If it's no A, B, or C,
Yes,
that I test all the different types of offload files.
Indeed.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
So you do that for all the test cases in your test, and then you have to report that to Skyline. That can be done via 2 ways, or to the API endpoint. But for this, you need internet access, or also it can be done via a proxy. Or the second way is via an email, but then you need to take care of the SMTP settings in the dataminer.xml. Normally, if you have CDMR enabled, then this will work by default.
Yeah, and by the way, CDMR is our proactive monitoring system, so that we can detect upfront if issues are happening on your system, or if we see a trend that something will fail in X amount of days, that we can act upon that. Indeed. All right, and I see in your snippets a client ID and an API key. What is it exactly, and how can it be provided to me?
Yes, so the portal URL as well, and the client ID and API key are being provided by your Skyline contact. The client ID and API key is a sort of username and password that you have to store securely. Also, if you lose the API key, then we can't provide it back to you. So it's very important to keep that somewhere safely stored, like in a password manager. And also the portal URL or email will also be provided together with your ID.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And then once you report, you want to see your results as well. This can also be done on the collaboration side. So if you go to your project, you have a tab called test results, and in there you will see all the tests linked to that specific project or your project. with the latest test results. So at this point, this is quite a summary list of things you see, but very soon we will release a new version where you can see the fail message of the last failure of the last run. And in the future, we will also look into displaying the performance graphs of all the performance tests you push.
All right, good. Now, the project that I'm seeing on your screen, that is a project where I provided project ID in the second
Yes,
slide.
indeed. Yeah.
All right, good. These test results, those will automatically update and also getting registered in the list. That's when you report the tests, it will automatically getting filled in, right?
Yes, indeed. Within 10 minutes, your last test result will be in there.
Okay, good. Thank you very much for providing us this information. So what we have right now, we have the NuGet package. We have a way to link regression tests and the results of them to collaboration. Now, maybe let's get things practical. Flavio, can you explain a use case, how we can integrate regression testing into DataMiner?
Yeah, sure. For today, I've prepared a really simple scenario, a simple one but a powerful one, since we are exploring different data miner modules. The scenario will be focused on Nimber Vision software platform. This software platform allows us to orchestrate and manage the whole Nimber network. And for data miner to exploit that, we will use a data miner element that can be seen as a digital twin, where we can see the whole data, or at least the most important data regarding to our integration into data miner. So we can see in the element a couple of tables with raw information from the device or from the devices that we can exploit from Nimber Vision.
Okay, so all of these tables that we see right here, these are the raw data that is coming from Nimbra Vision. Is that right?
Exactly, correct. Let's say that we are not processing anything yet here. We are just asking for some information to Nimber Vision and displaying here in different tables. For this scenario, we will focus on this table, the circuits table, and here we can assume that we can see the circuit as a service running on top of Nimber network. So yeah, and on top of that, we also, for this integration, we also exploit another module in data miner, that is the low-code apps module that allows the user to create their own visuals without.
Yeah, this is to provide like a UI on top of the raw tables that we see right here.
Exactly. Without too many code skills, the user can, in a friendly way, to create their own visuals for the data that we have in our data miner systems, and interact with such data in different ways. Yeah, we have different pages for this low-code application that we developed for this integration. Again, for this scenario, we will only focus on this page and the different action buttons that we created on this low-code app on this page. So as we can see here, we are presenting also that information from the circuits table or our running services. We are only selecting the most important columns that we want here, at least for this user interface. We can apply a couple of filters, and yeah, I will not enter into much detail regarding to this integration, but yeah, if you have any curiosity in it, you can always check our community page where we describe this integration and how our use cases were developed and presented. Yeah, you just need to look in our community page and check for this.
Okay. Now on the low-code application, is there a specific part or specific steps that we are going to test with? Or
exactly. It was my next point. So yeah, we are seeing here our services, and let's assume that we want to test the creation of the two most used services, namely the services of type J2K or the type ELAN. So yeah, we have two action buttons here that will allow us to quickly create the service of this type. We just need to select the nodes, then the interface of such nodes, for the same thing for the destination, and then click connect. We should be able to see, yeah, we see that new service entered here, and we are also identifying here.
Now we see that already. Eh? So we were already talking about the elements. Now we have the low-code app. We have a script that is executing the logic. So now you see that we have indeed lots of different components, and that we cannot check everything. Eh? If we can automate something, that would be very, very nice.
So yeah, basically for our regression test, what we'll do is actually automate this. So yeah, I will now disconnect. So clicking this button, as you were saying, Jarno, this will trigger yet another module in Data that is the automation module that will allow us to automate certain actions in our configuration actions in our products or the products that are being orchestrated by Data Miner, and we can basically test also that. For
Okay.
that, yeah.
So just to summarize, now we're going to get things practical. So we have the NuGet package that Tom was talking about. Do we have something that we can start with that? Do we start from scratch, or do we have something else?
No, nowadays it's really easy to get started. To make this really easy, Skyline already made available a template for that. So if we go to Skyline repositories, we can see this template here. So if we open that template repository, we can reuse it. So let's just create a new repository from it.
So this is a template, like small regression tests that we can get started from.
Exactly. I will just start creating and demo. So I will create this on my private just for this demo. Yeah, basically we will see that in this template we already have all the necessary functions prepared for almost any type of regression test. So the classes are already there, all the objects that we need. We just need a small tweaking to adapt it to our use case. So I will now clone it for my local. So to clone it, you can use any type of tool that you desire or you are used to it.
Whether that is the GitHub desktop application, Source 3 or Visual Studio, that doesn't matter.
Exactly. You just need to, let me just select a directory for it. Okay.
So now we're getting the things on your local file system, so we can get started.
Exactly. So we are able to see here already the repository in my local. So let's open it. Okay. So while this is still loading, you'll see that I will use several functions from DIS, Data Miner Integration Studio. Now we make this available free of charge. You just need to have a Dojo account, our community page basically, and you will be able to use DIS free of charge.
Yes, that enables you quite a lot of functions, and it will only make you work more efficiently, right?
Exactly. So we already have, a lot of snippets that will allow us to speed up things when developing things. Also, to directly publish to a known data miner things like that. That will actually facilitate things and speed up our development.
Okay, so typically an automation script, which is using that NuGet package, is a plain XML, right?
Exactly. So if we look to the XML file, we see the name of the script that we want. I will just renaming it now.
Can you
I will
also
just
zoom in a little bit so we can easier see your
zoom.
screen?
Okay, let's zoom into it. Let's try more, or it's okay. A bit more.
So it's already better.
Let's try 20. Yeah, I will just quickly adapt it. So we'll put live demo. Yeah, the name of the script that we want, some description, if we the author, and we can also place it immediately in a folder when we upload it to data miner.
Okay, and there is then one action, which is then probably a code part using that NuGet package.
Yeah, exactly. So let's here we specify also that we want to include a script, C# script. We can click it directly here, and such script will open. Let's just start saving things. And yeah, looking at the script, it could be with some issues here because of the nuggets, and could or not be outdated. So the first thing that I would advise to do is to first check the NuGet manager and see if we can already update some and actually include new ones that I will need it for now. So we see that we can already update 5 of them. Yeah, I would say let's always use the latest one, but the one that it's also supported on your system. We can always check in which, yeah, the minimum required version to work for in certain nuggets. So yeah.
Okay, so now we are using the template. We cloned the templates or an instance of that template onto our system. So if we have the installed NuGet packages, we also have already the NuGet package for the QA portal API. Is that right?
Yeah, it's already installed, and it seems that it's also already in the latest version.
Okay.
But I will also need to install two for this test. I will need to install 2 other nuggets. That should be that.
Interesting to know this. If you clone a repository onto your file system and you open Visual Studio for the first time, it's always good to rebuild your entire Visual Studio solution. That will typically resolve all the compilation errors that you see.
So I will need this one and the other one as well. Okay. Now, indeed, if I start cleaning things and reinstalling, and rebuilding, it should be everything okay. Yeah, let's confirm it. Yeah, no errors, so should be everything resolved now. So if we start looking into the structure, we see that we have a shared library that already have the test, or at least the interfaces that we will use for the test, and already the class that will also need to create the test.
Okay, and the function of that shared code library, what is it exactly? Why do we have such a shared code library?
Yeah, this will allow us to reuse code without duplicating it. So we can just include that shared library in different projects and reuse the same code without duplicating it.
Okay, so creating multiple regression tests and using the same code over there.
Yeah. One thing that we can already check here is the QA portal configuration. So we see here that will point towards a configuration file that is stored in the system. The configuration file yeah, should be this one, right? No, where is the configuration file?
I think it's on the documentation folder, the second
Oh,
folder.
yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, here we can already see. So yeah, since I'm using internal system, I will use a different path. So
All right.
you
So
can
this is
check all this information.
Yeah, that has all the necessary information to get this going. So the client that will
exactly.
need the API key that Tom was talking about.
Exactly. So we'll need to adapt this for our system, then upload to our host, to our server, such a file to that location, or if you use a different location, you will need to adapt this path here.
Okay.
If we'll make use of two interfaces, the iTest and the iTest case. So that basically will ensure that we'll implement the necessary methods, the
Okay. And do we
necessary
have an
classes that
example
Tom
already?
was explaining. Yeah, we have an example already here, the test case example. So we see that it implements a iTest interface. And the only thing that it does, it's requesting us for a name of our test case. And then on the execute, we will execute our methods,
Okay.
our tests.
So
And
here is
that's
where
it.
the magic begins, right?
Exactly. So um, yeah, if we look also to the main file where it was, it's easier to get it from here. So we see that we'll create an object of such a type, yeah, of type test, this one, and then we will add the test cases to it.
Okay, so that means that looking at the screen, that we actually only need to implement the test cases. So the real logic for the regression tests and all the other things can be left as is, right?
Exactly. So yeah, the test is already implemented here. So we just need to implement our test case and include it on our test object. So usually I separate the classes for it in different files. So I'll create a new C# class in a separated file. Let's call it test case J2K or something. Creation or just J2K. Yes. And yeah, since this should follow the same structure as the example one, I would say that we can probably just copy this, put it here below, and don't forget to then update the class name here. And you can get rid of this part.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is a pretty easy way to get yourself going with an example. Huh?
So yeah, we already have the structure here for our new test case. Now we need to decide what we want to do with it. So as we were seeing here, we want to go into to test this functionality, where we select basically two interfaces and click connect, and at the end disconnect. So for that, we will need to already prepared a snippet, so we don't need to enter in too much detail on the coding part. So
yeah, this is an introduction session indeed. It's focusing on the whole framework, and indeed the implementation that comes along with it. That's already pre-made.
So for now, I added a couple of methods. Yeah, the create the basic circuit. It's not this test case that I want. Sorry for that. I want this one. So let's replace these ones because this is for the next test case. But it's the same name. It seems, or didn't copy it. Yeah. Okay. The name it's not the most correct one. So let's. I will change it to. This is not a logic circuit. It's a G2K. Let me just confirm it. Yeah, it's a G2K. Basically, I already prepared a couple of methods here. First, this one is the one that will trigger the automation to create the G2K service.
Okay. So this is simulating like if you were to click or hit the connect button on the local tab.
Exactly. So, and we did exactly the same thing for the delete. So simulating that we hit the delete button on the disconnect button in the local app.
Okay.
And these some auxiliary methods just for us to then allow us to check if the circuit was actually shown in the circuits table. If we were able to actually detect the service to arrive to data miner after request to creation. Yeah, it's also the method, auxiliary method to check that. For that, I will need to detect or to find the element in data miner. I will create a property to just store the information regarding to my element.
Okay, and IDMS element, that is probably coming from the core libraries that we can use as well.
Exactly. As you can see here, I just added this. That's why at the beginning I added that extra NuGet. So you can also add it yourself if you need to use this type of data. So, and this is then the namespace that we need to use. If I go now here, we can quickly, basically, let me see. Can just copy this, paste it here. So now success, it's not always true, of course. What we want is to see if the service was actually created, right? First, we need to show why it's not getting the engine here. Maybe I need, another class. Okay, so I will need to first get the DMS and try to find the element. Yeah, for the easiest way. And for this test, I immediately set the IDs. Define the source interface and destination interface. Also the start time for creating the circuit. And this, I just rename it. So it's J2K.
I think you have two times the same method. I see check circuit row and now also one collapsed and one expanded.
Okay, maybe one copy paste exactly. So this one, okay, this one shouldn't be here. Okay, hitless, that's okay. This should also be okay, and it's this method that I want here.
Okay, that's a lot better.
I made a typo here. That's why it was failing at the first time. So create. Okay. So we will create the circuit, pass the necessary information to trigger the automation, and then we'll check if the circuit was correctly created.
Okay, so this is our first test case that we now already created. Is that right?
Exactly. So let's just also update the message in case it fails. We know exactly why it fails.
Yeah. Okay, good. Now, what do we still need in order to publish and run the regression test on our data miner?
So to publish, you can go directly to the XML file, and since we have DIS installed, we can select one of our own data miner systems and just click to publish on that one. And we should be able, it will compile and try to add. And yeah, an alternative is to save as a compiled script and have it as a DM application, and then we can manually upload it to any data miner that we want.
Yes, that's the second option available with DIS, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
But before, yeah, we should be able to already seeing it here. So if we go to the automation app, okay. And if we go to regression tests, indeed, we see here that we have our live demo. Before running it, I just remember that we didn't enter the project ID in the constants. So if we go to the constant file here,
I also see in the warnings of your IDE that we have
yeah, indeed.
to do. So indeed.
So it's exactly that. So yeah, indeed. So yeah, here you should put. Usually it's the squad of such a project that yeah puts here the contact. So
like Tom was saying in the beginning, that
yeah.
this is the technical team from Skyline, the technical contact team.
So yeah, I will add the contact team, the contact of my team, and now the project ID. Yeah, we can go to collaboration and check it here.
All right.
Let's go to the app again, and okay. Another thing that we still need to do is we created our use case or our test case, but we need to add it to our tests. So if we go here, we see that I'm still just adding the examples. So I will remove the second example. We'll just let's test J2K for instance, type demo, and let's add here the correct one. Should be J2K, right? Yeah.
Probably also
parentheses at the end. Okay. And yeah, we can publish this again. Let's first check if it's compiled. Should be okay.
Okay. Saving everything and indeed publish.
Yeah. So let's publish it again. Still publishing, and yeah, should be okay. Let's quickly check it here. Yeah, indeed, we will call our test case. Let's just validate to see if all the references are okay, and it should be. Now we should be able to execute. So yeah, and this will run our test case.
Okay. And then we should be able to see anything happening on the system.
Yeah, sure. Before I forget, we should be able to see here. Yeah, we see that we are entering here new services. Yeah, okay. We can see by the date, for instance. After 10 seconds, they should be deleted. Yeah, we see that they got removed, and now it should retrieve okay in the automation. Indeed.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. In the meantime, this should have been published to our QA portal, and after a couple of minutes, it should be able in our collaboration project.
Okay, and by the way, if you ever need to run these on a scheduled basis, you can always use the scheduler module in order to have that in place.
So it seems that I forgot to rename our test, but yeah, we don't have the results available yet, but we see that indeed we already added here a new entry.
Okay, and by the way, it will take some time. I think it's sent through email and then it's being processed by the QA portal. But I think in a couple of minutes we would be able to see the results over here. Okay. Very good.
Yeah, I believe this covers most of the things. Yeah, in case we want to create another another test case, is exactly doing the same steps. So I have a second one here if we would like to create, but it's exactly the same thing. So
Okay, so
create
just
a new one.
a test case which implements the I-test case, which is actually just implementing the execute method doing the logic that you have. All right, thank you very much, Flavio. So just to recap, we got an introduction of the QA portal NuGet package that we applied in or starting from a regression test template and applied it to the Nimbra Vision use case. In any case, if you would have any questions, feel free to get in contact with us and to get in touch with us. Thank you very much for attending and have a nice day.